So Zach, today you said something on the panel that I absolutely loved, and I could feel the reaction in the room too, and that was talk about what you said about the research, and you want farmers, and your research is going to be there for them to learn, and you're going to allow them to come observe what you're doing.
So what Holly's speaking to is essentially the mission of IFAS and the University of Florida. We're here to support Florida's farmers and the new industries and the opportunities that they have to be successful with their job. And so we've struck a collaborative and transparent tone with our program. All the work that we're doing, all of the information that we gather is going to be made public as soon as we're able to gather our evidence and put that information out there. It really then speaks to the conversation and the relationship that we're going to be having with Florida's farmers. We need to hear from you folks. We want to get you folks involved. One of the next steps to this project after the pilot stage would be on-farm research and making sure that the work that we're doing can scale up from the research into the commercial. And although that's not quite an opportunity yet, that's certainly the way that we're structuring our program. That's certainly the way that we operate as a university regularly with all of the other cropping systems around the state.
And that kind of goes hand in hand with what we've been on calls with the rest of the agriculture staff talking about our BPM manuals,
right?
Our best practice management that we'll collaborate and put together for farmers to have in their hand out in the field.
That's right. I mean, when I get calls, the calls are, how can I grow hemp? When can I grow hemp? Which that's better for you to respond. And how am I going to make money growing hemp? And so those are the questions that we're working to answer that we can't quite answer just yet. But there's really a couple pieces that farmers expect from us. So there's a best management practice manual that is provided by FDACS to farmers, and it gives recommendations. That's a very big word, a recommendation to farmers on how to grow these crops. And folks want recommendations from us on how to grow hemp. And I cannot give you a recommendation because we're still at that agriculture 101. We're still learning about the basic physiology of this plant as opposed to what's the very narrow window of nitrogen or irrigation so that we can ensure water quality and quantity and making sure that we're protecting Florida's environments. So that's definitely a step that we want to get to, and it's an interesting balance where many of our cropping systems in the states are really in that fine-tuning stage where we're really just looking at getting that first answer as quickly as possible. So we've been really working hard with FDACS to put together this sort of research that we can answer these questions so we can move as quickly to a recommendation, quickly to a best management practice through our research.
Right, and so in the meantime, I know we've told you we're kind of gathering some data from other states to help as a starter for a book also.
That's right, us too, and one of the things that we can do is provide that information about how we did it, right? We can't necessarily make a recommendation, but we can say this is what we did and it was more or less successful, and that's sort of our process as well. Some folks come out to us and say, Florida's starting from scratch, why are we so far behind? I don't necessarily agree with that statement because what we do every day is we reach out to other states, we gather the information that's available. In sort of the approach that we have, there's two different types of information that's available. There's sort of informational packets or training manuals, and then there's firsthand primary literature. And so a lot of hemp is coming from sort of the history of hemp in the country, and that's certainly important information for us to gather. And then there's our colleagues around the country that are doing the science, and so we've got to balance those two pieces of information. In my talk earlier, I sort of suggested that sort of research-based evidence is very much limited across the state. And so we've got to learn from the farmers telling us what's been successful, that anecdotal evidence, and sort of then work to navigate our special situation here in Florida. Florida's a little bit different than the rest of the country when it comes to agriculture, when it comes to our environments, certainly when it comes to our latitude, and the issues with light and photosensitivity are just a whole nother set of of all of these questions that we're going to be asking.
You're very right about that. One of the things that I tell people, because I've gotten that comment of, well, we're so far behind, is, you know, what we get to do now is step back and look at the other states, see
Right.
what they've done well, ask them what they would have changed, learn from their lessons. And I know you guys do that, we're doing that, we all collaborate, which I think is going to have a great outcome for Florida.
That's right. We're not starting from scratch. We're learning from others. And going back to the innovation of Florida's farmers, they're ready at the gates. And as soon as we give them the opportunity to do this, they're going to start taking advantage of this opportunity. And we hope that we can give them the best opportunity to be successful in all this.